call this meeting of the Board of Adjustment to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
John Marlin,
Here.
Owen Curley,
Here.
Alexi Gonzalez,
Here.
Jeff Trular, Dan Molly, Todd Smith,
Here.
Jennifer Williams.
Here. Thank you. The Board of Adjustment meetings are quasi-judicial in nature. All decisions of the board will be based on competent substantial evidence, including testimony provided in this meeting. Any person who is not an applicant or agent who wishes to speak will need to fill out a speaker's card located on the side table by the door and turn them into the clerk. Each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak on each item. Please refrain from speaking from the audience, and applause or cheering will not be allowed. And lastly, please silence your cell phones. We do not have approval of minutes for this meeting. There are not minutes available from, I guess, the most previous meeting or the most recent meeting. We do, however, have an item of old business that was supposed to be on the agenda but was left off, so we will need to amend the agenda to add that old business at this time.
I move to amend the agenda to include BOA 22-100092 on our current agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, the agenda has been amended to include old business. And before we call that case, is there any correspondence?
No. Well, you have some for other cases that some bias, but for this we don't.
Can we please call the old business case?
Board calls BOA 22-100092.
Through the chair, this item came before you on September 20th. You held a full public hearing. There was even discussion on several motions. You voted and approved the applicant to be deferred to this specific meeting to address issues related to joint parking agreements and shared parking. So we brought that back, and the applicant is here tonight to address you guys.
Thank you. Could you tell us any advancements you've made in the way of parking agreements since you were last before this board?
Absolutely. At the risk of making any excuses or wasting anybody's time, I was coming here to see if I could potentially be considered for an extension of time. The events that occurred since the last time we met was coming from a place of absolute no experience in doing this. You guys got into some very technical conversations, and I think Christian spotted that it was a little over my head, so I think he spoke up and offered to meet with me. There was time invested in getting a meeting with Christian that was also impacted by Hurricane Ian. By the time that I met with Mr. Popoli and discussed what the path forward looked like and what the time was going to take to get that path forward accomplished, my communication to him was that it would probably take a little bit more time than was afforded to me at that time. So his suggestion was that I show up and ask you guys humbly for an extension of time to be able to accomplish the next steps that you communicated to me.
What kind of time are we talking about?
I mean, at the risk of sounding vague or selfish, I am a CPA, so things kick off in January. I mean, it would be awesome if I was afforded till after tax season so that I can afford it the amount of time that it's going to take, because the task at hand is a fairly sizable one, because it's going to involve neighboring businesses and asking for mixed parking arrangements, and I want to do so in a manner that's gentlemanlike. So I feel like doing that in a manner that's a pace and a cadence that isn't something that sounds urgent or rushed or any of that kind of stuff. I'd be very gracious for that. If that's not an option to you, then perhaps if we could get it as close to the end of the year as possible, because we do have holidays coming up and I'm going to be traveling for both Thanksgiving and Christmas. Again, at the risk of putting self-interest in front of the board, I just want to put all the facts out on the table as well.
So when you say after tax season, you mean basically like May?
Yeah.
And are there any issues between now and then with the current setup that you have without getting these documented parking arrangements?
No, ma'am. No, the request at hand is just trying to figure out a solution for capacity. We've been very blessed as a business in Jacksonville Beach for 25 years now, and we're growing to a place where the brick and mortar element is no longer something that's available to us. So one of the considerations that we're trying to figure out is potentially building upwards, and then that's how the parking solution presented itself that we're going to be navigating. So.
Right, so none of that work will
No, ma'am. No, absolutely not.
It's not under construction already.
No, not without y'all's permission or at the risk of not having the right nomenclature, whatever blessing I need from you guys to be able to move forward with the project of that magnitude. And if, I don't know if the end of May is possible or beginning of June, only because the tax deadline is April 15th as it stands. And so then having that period to kind of revisit all of that, it's just something that's such an important thing for my life and the life of my employees that have been there in some circumstances for over a decade, and some clients that have been there for a quarter of a century, to have to communicate, hey, we're going to be moving away from what is a big appeal for this business, and that's being on this side of the ditch. I want to make sure that I do everything right, and I want to make sure that it's done thoroughly. I want to do it in a manner that reflects what my heart is about the passion of this project, and I just feel like if I don't request that, then it's potentially going to be rushed and there's room for risk and error, and I would hate for something before office of court for me to get my favorite.
Through the chair, two comments might be helpful. One, the entire project would require a permit, and we wouldn't issue it without variance. So, in essence, nothing will happen until this board makes a decision. Question for the attorney: would it make sense, if the board hasn't rendered a decision, basically to withdraw this application and bring it back, re-advertise, re-notice, or just continue?
I think in terms of, the administrative handling, if the board is willing to extend the timeout, I would suggest doing that, because it has gone through the public hearing, and all that to be done is a decision by the board.
And sorry, Sandy, one more point of order. So, should we plan to open the public hearing this evening? Or we don't need to do that because we've already,
Yes, you've actually gone through the entire consideration of the application, including the opening of the public hearing and closing of it. And that's what makes it very easy for us at this point in time, because we won't have to re-advertise it if we just process it as your decision moving forward. And that is the basis for my suggestion of discontinuing it.
okay, thank you. Does anybody have any other questions of the applicant?
And then,
Okay, you can be seated. Is there any discussion? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I make a motion to continue BOA 22-100092 until June of 2023.
second,
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I appreciate the feedback.
Yes.
Through the chair, we should make it specific to a meeting date. If we can have a second to pull up those dates. My email will cooperate.
Should be June 6th. That's the first Tuesday in June.
I just want to double check, because there are a number of Wednesday meetings this year.
There are. The next meeting is a Wednesday meeting, I noticed. We sent the schedule out last week.
I move to amend the motion. So the motion will be to continue BOA 22-100092 until June 6th of 2023.
second,
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on amending the motion? Okay. Do we have to do a roll call for that, or can we just? Let's do a roll call.
Owen Curley,
Yes.
John Moreland,
yes,
Todd Smith,
Yes.
Jennifer Williams.
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes. So the motion has been amended, and the motion on the floor is now to continue a decision on this item until June 6th, 2023, the first June meeting of this board. Any discussion on that item? Okay. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
John Moreland,
yes,
Owen Curley,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
Yes.
Jennifer Williams. Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes. Your item has been continued until June 6th, 2023. Can we call the first case of new business this evening?
Board calls BOA 22-100118. Property address 1862 Evans Drive South. Motion to consider 34-336 E1C3, excuse me, for a rear yard setback of 20 feet in lieu of 30 feet minimum to allow for the addition of a rear covered patio in an existing single-family home.
Thank you. As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak when we open the public hearing. Does any board member have any ex parte communication on this item?
I've had none.
I've had none.
But none.
None.
And I've had none. Would the applicant or owner please come forward to be sworn in and give your presentation? And you'll be sworn in by the clerk.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
John Philip Stephen, I live at 1862 Evans Drive South, Jacks Beach.
Could you speak up a little bit, please? Get a little closer to the mic.
Okay, my name is John Stephen, and I reside at 1862 Evans Drive South in Jacks Beach.
Thank you. Can you tell us the nature of your hardship at your property?
Well, my house was built before the code changed, and I just want to extend it out. A lot of the homes in my neighborhood have covered patios, and mine does not. And I would really enjoy it. My house was built in 1990, I believe. I've owned it since 99, and I want to have a backyard patio and want to extend it out 4 foot. The existing patio is already at 25 feet, I believe, and we want to extend it and cover it another 4 feet.
And did you put the patio in, or was it?
No, it was built with the house.
Any questions of the applicant?
It's going to be completely enclosed?
No, it's going to be open air, just the roof.
Yeah. Have you talked to your neighbors?
Yes, I have some neighbors here, and they live next door, and they approve it. I've talked with several of the other neighbors, and they said, good for me, I hope you enjoy it.
Any other questions? Okay, you can be seated at this time.
Okay,
And thank you.
thank you for your consideration.
Yes, sir. And I will now open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers cards?
We have Michael Coward, who wishes to address the board and is in support of the agenda.
And you'll need to be sworn by the clerk.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
My name is Michael Coward. I live at 1848 Evans Drive South, Jacks Beach. Phil's next door neighbor, and I just want to stand up and say that I support his application, and that's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other cards?
We have one other speaker card. We have, looks like Paul Mendes, who is the general contractor, wishes to address the board if needed.
Any technical questions?
You can be sworn in by the clerk first.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please state your name and your address.
Paul Metis, 5791 University Club Boulevard, Jacksonville, Florida.
Did anybody have any questions of the contractor?
No, I don't think so.
Do you have any statements to make from behalf of the
No,
contractor?
I'm in support of it. Thanks, okay.
Thank you. Any other correspondence?
No other correspondence, no other speaker cards.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who has not filled out a speaker's card who wishes to speak on this item? And if so, please fill out a speaker's card before you leave. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the board for discussion. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve BOA 22-100118 based on the testimony and evidence provided. The request has met all the standards for variance as outlined in section 34-286 of the Land Development Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Very minimal, and it's certainly worth noting the odd shape of the lot, which makes compliance difficult, as well as the fact that He doesn't have any neighbors directly to the rear that would be directly impacted. Any other discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
John Moreland,
Yes.
Owen Curley,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
Yes.
Jennifer Williams.
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes. Your application has been approved. Can we call the next case, please?
Board calls BOA 22-100119. Property address 1203 9th Avenue North. Motion to consider 34-337E1E for lot coverage of 49% in lieu of 35% maximum. 34-337E1G for an accessory structural setback of 0 feet in lieu of 5 feet minimum from the westerly side yard, and 34-373D for a driveway setback of 2 feet in lieu of 5 feet minimum from the westerly side yard to allow for addition of an extended driveway, walkway, and swimming pool paver deck at a newly constructed single-family dwelling.
Thank you. As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak once we open the public hearing. Does any board member have any ex parte communication on this item?
I've had none.
I've had none.
Good enough.
I spoke to a friend who lives in the area, but the extent of the conversation was her seeing the sign posted at the property, asking me if this was coming before the board that I was a part of, and I said yes, and that was it. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in and give any presentation?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I
Please
do.
state your name and your address.
My name is Cindy Ellen Mead, and I live at 1203 9th Avenue North in Jacksonville Beach.
Thank you. Can you please tell us the nature of your hardship at this property?
I'm here today. I've lived at this location for 19 years, a lifelong resident of the beach, and last year we made a decision to tear down the house and rebuild it rather than trying to buy a larger house. And I'm here because I'm a mom of a disabled child. My child was born with a lifelong disability that sometimes leaves her unable to walk. And so around 6 years ago, I had put a wheelchair ramp and widened my front door so that I was able to get her to and from the car. So I'm here today because I would like to be able to have a driveway that I'm able to push a wheelchair on, a ramp to my, up to my house, and also to be able to navigate around in the backyard. So I'm just asking that we be able to do the same things we were able to do before, and we'd still be able to do it today. And my builder's here to help explain it better.
If you'd like the builder to come up
Yeah.
and speak on it, he can come up and speak along with you as long as he's okay with being sworn in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please state your name and your address.
Richard Gifford, 301 West Bay Street, Jacksonville, Florida.
Is there anything you'd like to tell us
So-
about the project?
No, I mean, if there's any technical questions, I'd be more than glad to answer them. Just glad to be building a new home for the Mead family, and as she has already stated that the condition she's hoping to get this variance for is to accommodate a handicapped child. When we originally applied, we looked at doing some turf in the back, and I don't think that's really going to be able to work out for mobility purposes. So it's just looking to put pavers in the back right there. That's really it.
Technically, our land development code specifically prohibits a illness or disability as a reason for
Sure.
making the variance. But you do have a substandard lot.
Yes.
And if this supposed to be a standard lot, what we're asking for would be 40% lot coverage. It was the standard lot, but it's not, so it's going to have to be higher than that.
Any other questions of the applicant?
I just want to clarify, the pool is already existing, correct? It's still there from previous.
The pool was there before I bought the house,
Okay.
yeah. And,
So actually, and then the new pavers that we're looking to put in will actually be a little smaller than what was existingly there. We did see the footprint of those just a little bit as well.
the house has been built now at this point.
Yes, ma'am, the house is almost complete.
Any other questions? Then you can be seated, and for the time being, and I will now open the public hearing.
Thank you.
Do we have any speakers cards?
We do. We have speaker cards from the applicant and from the builder that just spoke. There is Hugh and Michelle Burkhardt.
Yes.
Please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
My name is Hugh Verker. I live at 1005 13th Street North. We are neighbors to the house. Question.
You go ahead.
Okay, so, we've had a lot of conversations with our neighbors. We are, because of the way we're shaped, we're not right next door, but we are to the side. When we look out, we see the house, which is very large, but, we have spoke with Mike and Cindy, about it, and we are just concerned about a drainage issue, that they resolved it, and we met with their contractor as well, so we are just here to say, you know, there was issues, people were talking about the size of the house and stuff, and that's fine, but this variance is about the other. And so we're okay with that because they confirmed that they will not be having,
Yeah, I think what we wanted was to have some distance between the west, property line and the pool patio. But we have a pool on the other side that replicates that, and we were just concerned that if that pavement came all the way to the fence, we'd have some drainage issues and whatnot. But we have spoken with them in the meantime, and they're gonna make a buffer down the west side, about 2 feet or so, and they're gonna landscape that. So that should take care of the problems, as far as I'm concerned.
so we just knew people will be possibly coming, so we wanted to say we have spoke with them and we discussed our issues and they seem to be good, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one speaker card from Mark Junk. But I'm not sure if you're speaking on this, it doesn't have a...
Oh, yeah, it was on this one here, yes.
Oh, thank you, please.
I'm not ready to take it, so I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't read it.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I did.
Please state your name and your address.
My name is Mark Junk. I'm at 1034 13th Street, North Jackson Beach, Florida. For all council purposes, I live in lifelong resident here at Jacksonville Beach. I've been at that house since 1994, so. But the problem we have here is you can see the size of the house, okay, the amount of property that's already taken up. The pavers there, as stated, would be a problem with the two houses behind it, okay, or actually to the side to the west. There's two houses that butt right up to that property. I understand that a lot of the, what you might call an undersized lot, they are the lots that were there. And when the house was built, okay, this should have all been taken into consideration, but they do need a driveway. They chose to keep the pool. They chose to keep these things, and they have, another reason why they put the pavers along the side is they have another garage on the side of the house for, I guess, a golf cart. So they wanted to have a driveway there for that. So we're increasing our coverage there, specifically for this here. Now, as I said, when they built the house and they got the permits, they knew they had this issue already. It was already there. But they went ahead and they approved this house to be built there. You can see that it's pushed to the one side, so they already knew they were going to want to have these things here. And I have a feeling that what's happened is they figured they got the permits, and then they just come back because you guys will give them a variance anyhow. That's how I see it. I don't know if that's correct, but that's just how I feel with it. The house takes up a lot of space. The roof is going to produce a lot of water coming down. Where's it going to? There's no yard left there. We put those pavers down, there's no place for percolation. So that's what I have to say about it. And I hope you guys rule in the favor of not extending this much. They can have a driveway so they can get their handicapped child in there. I think that's fine. But to increase it all the way around like that, and what they want to do, I think it's a little bit much. Okay? You have to see the roof footprint to understand what I'm talking about. Okay, the pool is covered by the roof. So, that's all I got. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Any other correspondence?
We have no more speaker cards, but we do have an email from Rhonda Johnson. I would like for this variance to be denied. 49% lot coverage is too much for this neighborhood. And being a new structure, this could have been addressed when planning and design for what was going to be needed before it was constructed. If the lot wasn't big enough for what was needed in the first place, then it shouldn't have been built with the hopes of a variance. Thank you for your time. Rhonda Johnson.
Okay. Are there any members of the audience who have not filled out a speaker's card but who wish to speak at this time? And if so, please make sure you fill one out before you leave. Okay. Would the applicant or agent like to come back and address any of the comments made during the public hearing?
So I'd just like to maybe address the roof runoff question that came up earlier. There's going to be gutters on the house to direct the water where it's not going to flood the neighbor, so to speak. But I believe it's a fair request. I mean, what we're asking for. I mean, it's a unique, smaller lot. I understand, but we would like the board to consider to approve our request on it, please.
Any further questions of the applicants?
Where will the runoff go?
So one area, it'll come out to their front yard is where the gutters will be set up, and then the backyard, as one of the neighbors talked about, there's, the pavers are not going to run all the way to the sideline. They're going to come off, and then there's still a pretty good sized area behind the pool, and to the side of it. That is dirt. So there'll be pavers, there'll be a gutter coming to the front, right-hand corner, a gutter going to the back. So they'll all go to areas that as best as possible to get it where it's not going to flood any neighborhood. We've taken that into consideration.
How far out from the pool does the pavers go? How far?
So as you're looking at this site plan, to the left-hand side, which was what one of the neighbors was talking about earlier, we're going to not go to the property line, we're going to come back on, which they used to go to the property line, we're going to pull that back. So it's a very, the pool actually takes up about 85% of that. I mean, it's a very small area of pavers that we're adding back there.
We're going to make it better than it was before. There's going to be less concrete back there than there was before. It did used to go right up to the fence, and it's not going to. And I'm not even sure we're going to put pavers. And I think it's just going to go around the pool and underneath the awning, or underneath the.
And then secondly, you guys wouldn't know this, but kind of back when Cindy bought the house, the pool was there. There was a solid surface deck around the pool, then paver. Somebody put pavers on top of that. We've taken all that up now. So when the pavers go in, it'll be able to drain a lot better than previously before she start new construction on the house.
Pavers are still considered an impervious surface though, so it's still coverage.
We were gonna do the aqualine pavers,
So-
which I thought were 50% permeable.
They are, we're gonna, and there's some that are even a little greater than 50%, but they'll definitely be a minimum of 50% for sure.
It doesn't appear that that's been accounted for in this request. Christian, is that correct?
I think when we filled out the application, I'm pretty sure we made that.
Yeah.
That is a 49% before or after the allowable drainage.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that the pavers proposed were calculated at 50%. That's why they provided the manufacturer's spec for the
So, and then the new ones that what they were looking at actually even goes beyond that, beyond the 50%, but it's definitely going to be a minimum of 50%.
But the request for 49% is based on the assumption that you're going to be using these 50% pavers. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Through the chair, if I can ask a question. Right now, the request is written up as a 0 setback, basically for the pool area here. Since they're gonna have to grant to like a foot specific, do you know what that distance is gonna be? Is it gonna be 1 foot or 2 foot along that?
On the side over here,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be, I think we talked about 18 inches on the side over there, so I put it in half, yes, sir.
Okay. So through the chair, if you guys are making a motion, I would basically amend the request to reflect 18 inches as opposed to 0.
That's where that other, the neighbor's pool is just the other side, that's what he was, since they were talking about, the first speaker was,
Correct.
yeah. And that's what we decided, we discussed with them, not bring the pavers all the way to the property. Which is what it was done before, we're going to back it off though, and put like just a planer there that can drain through.
Through the chair, one other thing, I don't know what that calculation would be, but reducing 18 inches along the edge of the pool would bring the lot coverage down, but I have no way of knowing what that number would end up being.
But if this was a regular sized lot, they would be 5% off, correct?
I'm sorry.
If this was a regular sized lot, then this would be more like 40% coverage on a regular sized lot.
Correct, yeah, with the,
So with the removal of that west side, then it's even closer than that if it was a regular sized lot.
yeah, I just don't know what that actual number would end up being.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Just curious, when you were applying for this, did you consider not asking for all that on the side, going back on the side of the house, and sticking with the driveway, which you need, and the pavers around the pool?
So, when
Because
we
that's a lot of coverage right there.
So when we was originally looking at it, that's one of the things we did not take into consideration was the accessibility, and I know someone said earlier that handicap doesn't play into that, but that's not something we was taking into consideration. In construction, we started talking about this is going to be a problem to be able to maneuver a wheelchair around, and so we talked about coming back and asking for see if we can get these bearings.
Thank you. Any other questions? You can be seated. And I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the board for discussion. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve BOA 22-100119 with a accessory structure setback of 18 inches in lieu of 5 feet from the westerly side yard. And this is based on the testimony and evidence provided. The request has met all the standards for variance as outlined in section 34-286 Land Development Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Substandard lot. Sorry, substandard lot with attempts to accommodate lot coverage issues. They've said that they don't need the accessory structure setback of 0 feet. I do feel that they are trying to accommodate the code.
I have a question for staff. So the other, the applicant mentioned adding onto the house by going up. That did not require a variance? The home itself was already, if they're building up, they weren't already encroaching into the setbacks with the structure of the home?
Now, when they permitted the house, they were within all the setback requirements, as I recall. 1 second. Yeah, so this is RS2. So they currently, the structure itself meets all the required setbacks. The original driveway was the straight driveway, so the additional driveway wasn't considered. The pool deck was proposed as being turf, so it doesn't have a setback. So currently, as it's permitted, it's compliant. These changes warrant the variance.
All right. I was mainly asking in reference to the letter that came from Ms. Johnson referencing the size of the home, not necessarily the,
Oh, I see.
but I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, as long as they're at or below the 35-foot maximum, then it's permitted at whatever story is in there.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I think it's a lot of coverage on the side of the house.
Yeah, and I would like to reiterate what John said, that we are specifically barred from considering personal challenges or any sort of exceptions that are not specific to anything that's, explicitly stated in the code. This is not the first time that we've had somebody with, maybe a overarching circumstance, and that's why they need to add on to their house, but it isn't something that we are allowed to consider when we're reviewing the criteria. Any other discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Owen Curley,
Yes.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
Yes.
Jennifer Williams,
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
No. Your item has, your variance has been approved. Can we call the final case, please?
Board calls BOA 22-100120, property address 312 First Avenue North. Motion to consider 34-339 E3C2 for a westerly side yard of 0 feet and an easterly side yard setback of 5 feet in lieu of 10 feet required for each side yard to allow for construction of a new 2-unit multifamily structure.
Thank you. As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak when we open the public hearing. Does any board member have ex parte communication on this item?
I've had none.
I've had none.
None.
And I've had none. Would the applicant or agent please come forward to be sworn in and give your testimony?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
Plantation Field 10150 Bellevue Boulevard, Jacksonville, Florida 32256.
Thank you. And can you tell us the nature of your hardship at this property?
So,
Oh, hold on. Okay, just want to make sure the noise wasn't. Go ahead.
thank you. So this lot is a substandard lot. It was platted in 1924, which is a 25 feet wide, and it does not meet any of the current lot requirement sizes, which is defined in the land development code. So the reason we are here today with this lot is because there is existing structure, which is a house, and it was destroyed by fire. And because it was destroyed by fire, the zoning doesn't allow those, that used to be grandfathered in because it's a commercial zoning. So we had to start from scratch, we figure out a way to use a property which is not existing use but something new. So we went to the planning commission for conditional use approval for a duplex because that's the least intensive commercial use we can get, and we can get all the parking requirements met. So we were approved in the last hearing. We are here today because of the 10 feet setback requirements on each side on side yard. On a 25 feet lot, that is 5 feet. So that doesn't do anything for construction, and it also won't meet the land development code's minimum residential unit requirement, that the residence has to be a certain size for it to be compliant with land development code. So we are requesting the setback variance because we can build something which meets all the other code, land development code requires, and we don't have to get any other variances except the yard, side yard. We got enough parking, we got front and back set up that we meet the existing land development code. So I request the board to consider this application, is considering that this house was destroyed and we are starting from the scratch, so that's why we have to start as a variance hearing instead of just going back and redoing what was there already.
If I understand correctly, making a single-family dwelling on that property would be prohibited by the land development code.
Yes, it is.
So the code itself is partially your hardship.
Yes.
And were you the owner of the property at the time that the prior structure was destroyed?
No, the prior structure was destroyed when the previous owner was there, but there was the reason it was not grandfathered in because there's a requirement which utilities has to be on for the building to be grandfathered in. And there was something happened and the utilities weren't on for more than 6 months, so they took it off. And when I bought it, the reason I bought it is my son and I like to go to the beach, and we were trying to find something close to the beach where you can go to walk to the beach, and that was one of the affordable things we could buy at the time. And that's been 2 years, so he was 4 years old, he's 6 now. So we've been at it from 2 years trying to figure out a way to make this happen, and it's been constant struggle, and I'm hoping that my struggle will end today. Thank you. Any questions I can answer for you?
You mentioned the minimum square footage as required by code for the home. I don't know if I see it in the staff report, do you know the square footage?
I don't know on top of my head, but it is, Christian has reviewed that before when we proposed this building, and we met that guideline.
Through the chair, it's based on the number of bedrooms. So in the multifamily requirements, basically a 1-bedroom unit has 700 square feet, a 2-bedroom unit has 900, and a 3-bedroom has 1100.
Yeah.
So, right, correct. So based on their floor plan, they met those requirements.
Does this 50% meet it exactly, or does it meet it and then allow for extra lot coverage?
You're referring to the request in the staff report?
My question is, so they're asking for lot coverage of 50%?
No, that's what I was going to get to. So the staff report, that portion is I didn't change it when I did the staff report.
Oh, okay.
So what was advertised, what was noticed is basically the side yard setbacks, because this is a multifamily dwelling, so it gets 65% lot coverage.
Okay, okay.
So.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was looking at the staff report.
Yeah,
and not
I
the
apologize
agenda,
for that.
okay. Never mind, I'm all good. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
You may be seated for now, and I will open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers cards?
We have several. The first one is Zane, I can't pronounce your last name.
Just right.
Cesar?
Just right.
Excuse me?
Just right.
Jeswari, sorry. You wish to address the board?
And you'll need to be sworn in by the clerk.
Through the chair, did we address ex parte on this? I don't recall.
Oh, I apologize. Does any board member have ex parte communication on this item?
I've had none.
I've had none.
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 And I've had none. Sorry about that.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and your address.
My name is Zane Josrawi. I'm a resident. I do live in 782 8th Avenue South, Jacksonville Beach. I own the property across the street from that one, 331 First Avenue North, and that's the Caffeinated Cats. I was one of the people that was interested into buying that building that got destroyed by fire. I reached out there, and it was residential, and the zoning was grandfathered in residential because the fire just happened, didn't pass a 6-month period. After the 6 months, I reached out to the city, and the zoning was commercial. And I knew I couldn't do anything there, so I just left it the way it is because I feel like it needs to be commercial, and I was interested in it, just as the gentleman right here, into a duplex or a single-family home. But I didn't touch it because knowing that it should be commercial, and that whole avenue is all commercial. So first of all, to begin with, when he purchased the property, it was commercial, and it was obvious that he was going to a commercial project, not a residential project. And as the neighbors, and even the neighboring property next to mine, the Cool Cars, the car dealership in the corner, they do agree with me as well. Mr. Adamo, but he's not here today. It needs to be commercial. I mean, the property that I have is a restaurant and a cafe, and having neighbors in residential property across from ours is going to affect me. So one man's gain is going to be tough on other existing neighbors, knowing that the property is commercial and going to that project is commercial. If not having enough due diligence, knowing that it's commercial, then there's not even anything to begin with here. Especially parking will be an issue as well. It could be an office, it could be a retail, it could be anything. The structure it is now needs to be, it's condemned, it's inhabitable, so it needs to be demolished, and it needs to be, there's a lot of homeless people right there. I think the pressure is happening right here is he's trying to pull something commercial, residential again out of it by leaving it the way it is, but it needs to be fenced in, and it needs to be all taken out, fenced in, there's no homeless people there. And then we can discuss the use of the property, which is a commercial property at the end of the day. So it's going to affect the whole avenue, and I feel like all the properties on the avenue is all commercial. So there's no use for it to be residential. That's all.
Thank you.
I think that,
Let's not engage
Yeah.
the members of the public in discussion. We can save it for board discussion. You can be seated. Thank you.
The next one is Willard.
Ms. Shad.
Ms. Shad, sorry.
It's okay.
Sure.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
I'm Willard Mashad. I live in Neptune Beach, but my business is on the same street that he's trying to put his development on there. My address there is 380 First Avenue North. Run repair shop there, been there since 1980. And just a couple things. I mean, I know something needs to be done with that property. It's a very small piece of property, but he's trying to put a very large structure on this thing that's really not gonna fit the area. I'd like to point out that that whole area is very low there. I occasionally, doesn't have to be a hurricane, I have gotten water through my front office door just from cars driving by. I think the way the structure is now, it's gonna be very large. It's gonna take up quite a bit of the land that it's already setting on. That water's got nowhere to go other than the property next to it or into the city drainage system, which is already overtaxed most of the time. I just personally feel like it's not gonna be a good fit for our area, like the other gentleman said. It is commercial property, should be that, or possibly maybe just downsize the structure. I know he's trying to get 2 different multifamily units going there. I personally think, one single family is what belongs there, or a small office building or something of that type. But that's just my feelings, that's my input. I'm personally against it, but, whatever happens, happens, but that's my point of view.
Thomas Lee.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
Tom Lee, 7609 Terra Lane, Jacksonville. I'm the president of Lee and Case Glass and the owner of the building and the TBD Family Trust executive. So we own the building. Let me up front, I'm a capitalist, so I get what Mr. McKeel is trying to do something, but I think he knew he had the limitations on this property because it's only 25 feet, because we looked at it and had a first option on it, but they wanted a lot more when the house was usable, I guess. So we didn't get involved in that, but I think the biggest thing I've got, and I don't have a lot of statements, I just have more questions. The structure of the building, we don't know what that's going to be yet. It looks like container type building. 5 feet on our side of the property, you're dropping that limitation down 75% from the 10 feet on either side. I get it, you can't build much of a 5-foot piece of property. But it's going to be lot on the lot for the owners on the west side of the building, of the property. And I question, what is that going to affect them as far as constructing anything if they choose to do something with their property down the road? In our standpoint, being a business, we're going to have to look at the liability of this, the cars, the parking, the people. If it's got 5 bedrooms, you're going to have 5 cars. That would be my thought. I'm just, these are all questions that I have, and we deal a lot with, we'll call it insurance situations. And if we sell glass, somebody parks on our lot, steps on a piece of glass, we could be liable for a lot of things. So there's issues there from us, and you handle those as they come up. But yet, that concerns us from a liability standpoint as sizable as this is. What is the means of construction of the building? What is it going to be? What's the roof going to look like? We don't have any of that information to know what that is. I think it's too big for the property. It's taking up too much of the property. There is something that maybe can be built there, but I think this is just too large. Is there any study been done or assessments of what the water runoff will be if this much of the property is covered? It looks like there's variances being asked for a bunch of different things that are part of and I don't even begin to know what the statutes or the code is and all those sort of things. But looking at it from our standpoint, we look at liability, but look at the size of the structure. What's it going to be? 5 feet from our property, it should be 10. We need space from what we do, so that's something that concerns us. So, mine are more questions. We don't know what this is going to be, what it's going to look like once it's structured, once it's built. About a year ago, I had something in here and we went through all of this, and the board tried their best to try to figure out what to do with that, and couldn't come up with anything themselves. So it was interesting to come back with this. This just looks like too much structure on too small a piece of property, and I can't disagree. Maybe it needs to be commercial, but it's also something that we don't want to. I think I'm against this structure, but not against growth. So.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Heath Aldridge.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
My name is Heath Aldridge. I live on Denwood Lane in Durham, North Carolina.
And you can speak into the microphone. So
All right.
I can hear you.
Make sure you can hear me since I'm not tall. Angle this so I can actually read it. Oops. I am the owner of the commercial properties at 316, 318, abutting 312 First Avenue North. As you know, I submitted an opposition letter and I wish this entered into hearing records. Like the Michelle's and the Lees, my family has owned this property for many decades. Mr. McKeel's application fails to meet the 6 required findings for variance approval. I shall highlight some key deficiencies. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, better. Finding number 2 states, special circumstances or conditions do not result from the applicant's actions. To the contrary, Mr. McKeel bought a commercial property in a commercial zone. He could have pursued C2 uses.
but he chose not to. In May 22, the applicant requested conditional use for RM1 zoning. Mr. Hill now seeks to place a 2,700 square foot, 5-bedroom duplex on a grossly undersized lot to the detriment of adjacent property owners. This proposed overbuilding on a 25-foot wide lot is a direct result of the applicant's actions. Finding number 5 states that the granting of a variance is the minimal variance for reasonable use of the land. To the contrary, this variance is not the minimum to afford relief to the applicant. The RM1 standard requires 20 feet as the minimum side yard setback, 10 feet. Mr. Vakil wants a total of 5 feet, with 0 feet abutting my property and only 5 feet abutting Mr. Lee's. This is 25% of the required minimum. A duplex on this narrow lot should be no wider than 15 feet to allow at least a 5-foot setback on each side. This is not a hardship on the applicant. The maximum total square footage for a duplex on this lot should be no more than 1,600 square feet, which is the RM1 minimum for a duplex. Finding number 6 states, grant of variance will not adversely affect adjacent land. The staff report fails to address this finding. Mr. Vakil is not entitled to a 2,700 square foot duplex that does not conform to RM1 dimensional standards. Imagine a wall 20 feet high and 60 to 70 feet long on the property line, literally overshadowing your property, impacting the commercial businesses and affecting the future viability of commercial uses on your land.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but your 3 minutes has expired.
Okay.
So if you did submit something,
well, hopefully you all have read it.
I was going to say anything that you've submitted can and will be read into the record as well.
Thank you. I do want to point out just some procedural matters. There are a fair number of errors in the staff report. Specifically, they have the wrong crest cited in terms of the code citation, the setbacks, so forth. And also it spoke about C1 as the zoning rather than C2.
Okay, thank you.
To the chair, the letter that was at the very end of the packet that you got was...
Yes, I see that. That now is from her.
We have no more speaker cards, but we do have a letter from Lisa Johnson Cook, 1209 Salt Creek Island Drive, Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, 32082. Dear City of Jacksonville Beach, I received a public notice in regard to the application to reduce the yard setbacks for the property at 312 First Avenue North. I have a home within 300 feet of this property. I am strongly against allowing the owner to reduce the setbacks. The setbacks are in place for a reason, and the owner should have been well aware of the land development code at the time of purchase. This parcel is only 0.06 acres, and to build a multifamily home on this site is just pure greed. This greed is present in Duval County and St. Johns County as well, and the variances like this should not be permitted. There is no hardship here to substitute variance to the land code. Sincerely, Lisa Johnson Cook.
That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who has not filled out a speaker's card who wishes to speak at this time? And if so, please make sure you fill one out. You can submit that to the clerk and then be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
My name's Ryan Vermey, 261 Aaron Street, Atlantic Beach, Florida, 32233. I represent Vermey Architect. I've been working with Mr. Vakil to develop this property, and through Mr. Copley's help, we've tried every avenue to try to fit something here that's going to work and meet the criteria. The parking was a challenge. A traditional commercial building, you need at least 2 parking, 1 handicap and 1 regular parking. The lot is not wide enough to accommodate that. So that is how we ended up going with the duplex. When Mr. Vakil bought the property, he did not expect to not be able to build a single family home. So in going through this process, we've come up with what we feel is the best solution to meet all the criteria and get the least path of resistance for the variance. So here we are with some of the questions here. So it's a flat roof, the slight shed, we'll scupper it out and get a gutter system and go to a planter box and make sure we're keeping all of our water on the property. We have parking adequate for what we're planning to build. And I feel we've done the absolute best we could to fit something tasteful on this property. Right now, if you go by there, it's, you know, a disaster. So anyway, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We don't typically engage our public commenters in discussion, but if you did want to come back up with the applicant, once he's called back, you're welcome to answer questions at that time. Any other speakers' cards from the audience?
No further speaker cards or correspondence.
Okay. Would the applicant and/or agent like to come back up and address any of the comments made during the public hearing?
I want to go back to what we are asking today and take out all the noise which was made in the public hearing. We are asking for a variance on a side yards. We are not asking for a variance on a parking. We are not asking for a variance in a building. We are meeting all the existing code requirements. There is because it's a commercial zoning, we cannot do single family, as one of the board members stated. And any kind of commercial use would require parking, which this property does not have space to build. So building a duplex is the only thing we can do with this property, which meets 99% of the land development code requirement. Instead of trying to come up with a solution, we spent, like I said, we spent 2 years trying to come up with a solution, haven't been able to come up with it. Ryan is our architect. He can address the issues about the runoff, which he said that we will be keeping it, you know, on the property and only going to the neighbor's yard. And as far as, and I don't, if you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer those. But I think most of the discussion about the public hearing was what we are using the property for, but that's already been approved.
I did want to add that I think the house that was there was only 3 feet off of the property line on the Lee K side, and it was really close to the other side.
It's almost 3 feet on each existing structure, 3 feet away on each side. And the reason we are moving for bigger setback on one side and 0 on the other side is because right now the landscaper cannot fit their equipment in 3 feet gate to go in the backyard and clean it up. So if we have a little bit wider space on one side, and instead of splitting it on 2 ways, we try to figure we can do it on one side and not do it on the other side, so there is a better maintenance of the property.
And additionally, you know, we're really into aesthetics, so really trying to make a nice piece of property there. So it would be a nice showcase there in Jacksonville Beach.
And can you speak to, so I understand why it was important to have 5 feet on one side, even though right now it's split evenly with the current structure. Just in the design process, there was nothing that could be done to mitigate the 0?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, to fit something that's livable and nice there, I had to conform to everything that was in the code, and it was very difficult to squish everything down to only ask for a setback variance without any other variances being asked for. It's on a challenging lot. So,
Any other questions of the applicant?
I don't know on this next, but when you say it's on easy to do, that's just a matter of opinion, because I think there's other things to be considered there. I don't think a residential unit's gonna look good there.
basically, if you wanted to do a commercial building traditionally, you need 2 parking spaces. An ADA parking space is 12 feet wide, and offloading for the ADA is 5 feet wide, 17 feet. You only have 8 feet left. Well, 9 feet's the minimum regular parking. We're already not able to put traditional parking for a traditional commercial building. It doesn't fit.
But what you're proposing now doesn't fit.
Well, what we
Because you're
have
asking
now,
for a
we
variance.
have adequate parking for what we
But you're
have.
asking for a variance, so it doesn't fit.
The setback is the issue.
My
That's
point.
correct.
Can you address what the parking situation will be for the units?
Well, we have adequate for 4 parking, which is what's required.
Through the chair, they can add a little bit of clarity. So for residential uses, you can have back out into the right-of-way parking, and you can double stack cars as well. For commercial uses, you're required to have turning and maneuvering space and drive aisles. So even if they were able to fit 2 parking spaces, the commercial use would still require a variance for the backing out into the right-of-way requirement. So they are meeting the current 2 parking spaces per unit for a multifamily structure. But for commercial, it would present some additional challenges because of the width of the lot for maneuvering. And the alley behind it isn't open, so there's no way to access the rear of the property.
Any other questions for the applicant or architect? Okay, you can be seated. And I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the board for discussion. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve BOA 22-100-120, based on the testimony and evidence provided. The request has met all the standards for variance as outlined in section 34-286 of the Land Development Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? And before we get into discussion, I actually have a question for staff. So just so that we are considering the criteria and discussing the most relevant points, the use of the property, we have no say in that. It's already been decided by the planning commission.
That's correct.
We have no power to change that on this board.
I mean, in so much as if the variance isn't granted, they could still do that use if they found a way, in essence. But you're not considering use.
And aside from us denying it and them choosing to potentially find a different use, there's nothing that will happen based on our decision either way that would change what the planning commission has already granted as a conditional use.
That's correct.
Okay. So, I mean, that's kind of my main takeaway. We're obviously a little bit hamstrung by what the planning commission has decided to do here, but wasn't up to us, and we have no way of changing that at this point. So all we can do is look at the actual application. It's not up for us to decide whether a residential structure belongs there or not. It's whether the request in front of us is reasonable and meets the 6 criteria. And the main issue that I'm having is the 0-foot setback. I mean, I think it's, if they've had a residential structure that's 3 feet setback on either side now, if it were, 3 feet or 5 feet on either side, I would understand, but a 0-foot setback in that area just seems like it would be in conflict with at least one of the criteria.
Through the chair, if it helps the board any, the basically minimum width allowed allowed in the code for, well, not the minimum, but the practical limit for townhomes that are interior units in a townhome project. That minimum lot size is 15 feet wide. So if you were to think about this as a single townhome, it is practically possible to build something that is 15 feet wide for a residential structure. Now, those are single units, not double, but I would say it is possible to do with a narrower project.
It is impossible.
No, I'm saying that people do. If you build a townhome building that's got 5 units, the 3 in the middle, the minimum lot width is 15 feet. So those buildings by default end up being 15 feet wide. And there are some currently under construction.
And if they built a 15-foot wide project, then there would be 5 feet on either side.
Right. Now, again, I don't know if that works for this design, because those are single
Right.
units, because they're fee simple. But my point is, I think there's some leeway.
Okay. So what's proposed is not the minimum width that is allowed for a townhome?
There is no minimum width for construction. I mean, there are some practical limitations for things like egress and minimum bedroom sizes under the building code. But what I'm saying is it's achievable. The request is the minimum with regards to intensity when it comes to the slew of uses that we looked at when we were talking about this project. Anything commercial is going to require setback reductions, potentially parking reductions. So in that sense, this is the minimum of intensity.
Again, and there's nothing we can do about whether it's developed residential or not. That was up to the planning commission, and they've made their decision, at least for the time being. But I will certainly be factoring in that, you know, there is the potential for another type of structure to be built here that doesn't have a 0-foot setback on one side. I just don't think that's, ever a good idea.
And architecturally, it looks like a big structure, but in fact, it's only, it could, without getting a variance, cover up 65% of the lot, and it's only 50%.
Yeah, through the chair, one thing I actually have written down to address. So this is specifically a 2-unit multifamily, not a 2-family dwelling. So 2-family dwellings are treated differently in the zoning code for whatever reason and are maxed out at 35% lot coverage. As a multifamily, they get up to 65. But for any other commercial use, they get 85% lot coverage. So in that sense, if they went to a commercial use, they would have even more lot coverage in town then.
And as far as the rear yard, what's been proposed, I mean, I know this is just a rendering, but they're obviously not asking for any sort of rear yard variance, so they could also, if they wanted to, they could go further back instead of.
They're right at 30 feet right now.
Oh, okay. Any further discussion?
If a commercial project was done, they would be allowed to have 0 side variance. Am I correct?
Let me double check that for you. That's correct. So for commercial use, your front yard would be 10. You don't have a rear yard, and your side yards would be 0, except if it were a corner lot.
So that actually would be more lot coverage, more intrusive than what they're proposing now.
Any other discussion?
I've done.
Can we have a roll call, please?
John Mullen,
Yes.
Owen Crowley,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
No?
Jennifer Williams,
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes. Your application has been approved. We'll move on to the planning department report, please.
For those of you that were not able to attend the meeting last week for the Land Development Code and Planning Commission update, we do have one this Thursday. It is geared towards business owners and developers, but you're welcome to attend and kind of see what you missed. As I had explained to Mr. Moreland, on the website there is actually a fillable form that are the questions that were asked at that hearing, and the PowerPoint that was shown is also available, so if you want to go back through, you can review the PowerPoint and fill out that form, and if you want to, you can attend the meeting on Thursday as well.
Yeah, it was, I know a few of us up here were able to attend last Thursday's meeting, and I certainly felt like I got a lot out of it. I thought the way that they structured the questions and posed different, ideas to the members in attendance was really constructive, and would certainly recommend anybody who hasn't had a chance to attend one of the sessions to definitely do so.
But that's not this Thursday, it's a week from this Thursday.
No, we have one this Thursday, and then we have one with City Council on, we have two more, and then there's one with staff during the day after that. So this Thursday is business owners, and then City Council is going to be the 17th of November.
Also, at 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yes, they will both be at 6 o'clock on a Thursday in this room.
Okay. Anything else from the planning department?
That's it.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?